Truth Day.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, we'll tell you what Julie was talking about later. It is Wednesday, April 30th, 2014.
I'm Julie Robenheimer, and it's National Tell the Truth Day.
I'm Michael Agello, and there are 3 Game 7s, so I don't care if it's National Tell the Truth Day.
I'm Josh Rimmer. 3 Game 7s. Every hockey fan's wet dream today.
I'm Bill Meltzer, and I don't know how to top any of that, so let's get going.
I'm Eklund, and all we want is Sophie, Lily, Tori, and Olivia to come to our team. But anyway, you're listening to the Hockeybuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com, and all those random thoughts are brought to you by
Mexican Coke?
No. Gold Peak iced tea. All right, so we're going to start there. We're going a little bit earlier today, but if you're a podcast person, that time really doesn't matter. We are, it's Game 7, guys. It is, 3 Game 7s. Last night, Bill and I were lucky enough to watch the Flyers Rangers game. That was quite the game, Bill. It was a bizarre one, to say the least. What were your thoughts on that first period? We're sitting next to each other. I was saying to you, I thought this was about as bad a period as I'd seen the Flyers play in a long time.
Well, yeah, they were generating some attack, but they were as sloppy as they've been with the puck. It looked like an exhibition game almost. 9 giveaways in that first period, and Steve Mason played absolutely out of his mind. I really played out of his mind the entire game. But in that first period, it was semi-miraculous that it got to the first intermission with the Flyers up 1-0. Thereafter the Flyers settled in and took over the game in the second period, and the third period was kind of irrelevant at that point. But that first period, I think the biggest change from Game 5 to 6 to me was in Game 5, nobody wanted to take control early in that game. Philadelphia had a couple of power plays that they did absolutely nothing with, not just not scoring, but they couldn't get set up, they couldn't get shots through. It was really ugly. Yesterday, they actually got 3 good looks at the net on the power play, and then they finally scored on the 4th one. Wayne Simmons, first of his 3 goals, and that was a springboard point. It was a momentum creator instead of a momentum killer.
Yep.
And then it just kind of went from there in that second period. But just the sheer number of turnovers, you're not going to have a lot of periods where you turn the puck over 9 times and you're not staring at a crooked number on the other side, let alone a 0. So that was pretty crazy.
It's really true, and to me, if this series goes, if the Flyers win tonight, this whole thing will have turned on one play last night. Julie, can you guess what play that is?
Yes. Gustafson's non-penalty.
Close, but nope. Anyone else want to take a shot at it?
Well, to me, it was killing off that penalty and then scoring.
That's what I mean.
Okay, yeah.
That it was the non-penalty that put him in the position to get that goal.
Nope. Wrong. That was a great moment. That was the loudest moment in that arena in a long time.
There are no wrong answers here.
There are wrong answers.
It's just not your answer.
Julie, there are wrong answers. This is my podcast.
I beg to differ.
Okay, all right, fine. Then you come here and sit in this chair and run this show. There's a wrong answer.
Stuff behind me.
No, the answer is obvious here. The answer is you don't have any. You look like Julie. You look like you should be a Flyers warm-up.
If I wrap my sweater all the way around me, I will literally just be a floating head.
That's awesome. Now start singing Bohemian Rhapsody.
Scaramouche.
Heck, I thought you were going to put the red light on there when you were going to say, "This is my podcast."
Yeah. All right. What's the answer? Come on.
What's the answer? Spill.
All right. The answer is obvious. Benoit Pouliot taking that ridiculously dumb penalty in the first period, because that gives the Flyers the power play to score, because the Flyers had nothing going at all. The Rangers were coming on. There was a matter of time before the Flyers took a penalty or gave up a goal. They're giving away the puck, like Bill said, 9 times, and in the offensive zone, Benoit Pouliot, who has done nothing in this series but take stupid penalties, I might add, does the unthinkable, and just for no reason at all, hits Giroux away from the play. It was Giroux, I think, right? It was Giroux?
Yes, it was.
And this gives the Flyers life because the Flyers before that, honestly, there was no way. That's just my 2 cents. And that moment from then on,
I mean that's true, and it was a bad penalty. But the Flyers do nothing with the power play, which they did nothing in Game 5. I mean that was and going into the second period, it's still very much anyone's game at that point. So
right.
To me it was
No, but they score on that power play, Bill. Right? I mean that's the power play they score.
Absolutely, no, absolutely. I said that they scoring in that power play created them some momentum they used as a springboard. Whereas in the previous game, their power plays were a momentum killer for them. So it didn't even matter what kind of penalties were taken. But I mean that certainly was huge in that first period, along with several saves by Mason. I mean his glove hand. I don't know why the Rangers are still testing him high glove because that's obviously not the place to shoot on him.
I have a theory, and I know this is right since it's my podcast, but this is the theory that sorry, it's that kind of day. That
it's
Mason,
National Tell the Truth Day, Eck.
All right, I'll tell the truth. I'm going to meet with a bat mitzvah DJ after this show, which was scheduled 6 weeks ago. I'm psyched. Can't wait. I look like I should be a bat mitzvah DJ today. Anyway, so no, this is the truth. The truth is this. Oh crap! I forget what we were talking about.
You know what? What did you think of
that
the
was
King?
fantastic.
What did you think of the King in that though? Lundqvist has struggled quite a bit.
Well, right? Yeah. Thanks, Josh. Josh is the pro in this room. He saves the day. Thank you. This is my thought on Mason. Then I will definitely get into Lundqvist. Mason is a left-handed goalie, and you can see the Rangers, many times trying to go. Players in this league, they do think in terms of okay, you're gonna, the best to shoot off in his high stick side, and they keep going glove hand, Bill. And I think that I don't think that's completely. Those points are not connected in some way.
I would agree that's there aren't a ton of left-handed goalies in the league. That's an adjustment that the Rangers have to make. I mean Mason has things you can exploit. I mean all goalies do, but with Mason it's definitely not glove side, and it's not getting him moving laterally either. He's very good at that as well.
Yeah.
Sometimes when he's off of his angles, last night he was really on his angles, but when he's off his angles, he'll leave some rebounds in some dangerous areas. That wasn't the case last night. There weren't a lot of second chance, a lot of second chances, opportunities he could prevent being left out there. But that's not the way to attack him. That's for sure.
No, for sure. Mike?
Well, to expand on Josh's point, I mean, Lundqvist, to me, last night was rather pedestrian. I didn't think he was really that sharp, and, I mean, not taking anything away from Simmons scoring the hat trick, but I don't think Lundqvist was playing at the top of his game. I think for the Rangers to win in Game 7, there has to be an APB put out on Rick Nash. I mean, he has 4 assists in the series, but they need their big horse to score goals, and he is, it hasn't struck me that he's had a ton of great opportunities. He's got to generate some scoring chances tonight if the Rangers are going to carry Game 7 and then go on to play Pittsburgh in the next round.
Josh, what are your thoughts on this one? I mean, I think does the momentum, the short turnaround, who's that helping everything?
Well, I like Philadelphia tonight for sure. I mean, I've been talking about this guy all year, and was a big reason why the Philadelphia Flyers had the big turnaround. Wayne Simmons, what he's done on the ice. Not only does he score some big goals and get in front of the net, and last night I think he scored 3 goals that were maybe combined 6 feet away from the net. If you combine all 3 goals, he loves his spot right in front of the net. And he's been a big reason why the Flyers have done so well this year and had the big turnaround. Like I said, going into the corners, not afraid to make the big hit, and stands in front of the net. Doesn't care if he gets hit in the face by a hockey puck. The Flyers, I really like in this game tonight. I think Mason's going to have a big night tonight as well. Lundqvist, this series has not impressed me at all. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the Pittsburgh Columbus series with Marc-Andre Fleury, although Fleury did play a little bit better there near the end. I mean, again, the similarities, Crosby, Nash, both, they're getting their assists, but where are the goals, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A long time for Nash since he's actually made. We were joking last night, like he made that one Nash move, that vintage, like Keith Primo-esque type Nash inside-out move on a goalie, which he was famous for years, but he did it in such a wimpy way that it wasn't at all, like a real. It was like truly when they say you're a shadow of yourself, that was a shadow of his famous move. Josh, we've seen that move. That's like there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's got the move. I mean, we saw it a lot in Columbus. I mean,
Yeah.
got to throw Columbus out there. I think I got to still talk about Columbus even though they're out.
Of
But yeah, he's got the moves. But I don't know if he's intimidated by the way the Flyers play. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. But I mean, Nash does disappear usually around this time, near the end of the season, even the regular season. I know the Eel was only in the playoffs once with the Blue Jackets. He might not even know what to do.
Yeah.
I have a much bigger concern, I think, from a Rangers standpoint. First of all, I mean, Lundqvist wasn't great, but I don't know. In the goals he's given up in the series, I don't think he's given up a soft one. He's really been rendered kind of a non-factor. Last night the first Simmons goal actually bounced in off of McDonough. The Simmons' second goal was a turnover by Girardi and a pass between McDonough's legs to Simmons at point-blank range. Gustafson's goal was on a breakaway. I mean, that's a 50-50 shot basically. And then his hat trick goal was a great setup by Voracek, and again he's in point-blank range. I mean,
Yeah.
You give up those kind of chances, it's tough on any goalie. And yet, yes, if you're expecting your goaltender to steal you a game, you need him to steal one of those. But that's a little tough to pin on the goalie. My bigger concern from a Ranger standpoint, in addition to Nash, because obviously they need him to get at least one goal in this series. But my other concern is that I think the Girardi-McDonough pairing is getting a little worn down. I saw that last night. Girardi's been doing so much heavy lifting in the series, and McDonough's clearly not a healthy player right now. He's definitely at way less than 100%. And Girardi had really been carrying the load on that top pairing, along with forwards providing back pressure. Last night, Girardi looked very human. Besides the one turnover to Shen, he was losing some battles he wasn't losing, and that can be cumulative in a 7-game series, especially with a quick turnaround the number of minutes that he plays. So if Philadelphia is to do well tonight, that's something I would look for. I would look to see how well the top Rangers pairing has a bounce back game.
Mike?
And to that point, if you've noticed, they've taken McDonough off the first power play. They've put in John Moore on the point with Brad Richards, and I think that's another one of the keys for the Rangers tonight. I mean, their power play has really not done much in the last.
Over their last 20.
Yeah, so that's pathetic with the firepower that they have with Nash and with San Luis. Richards on the point, who he's played the point for years and he does it well, but they need to score. So obviously penalties will be a key in tonight's game, and if the Rangers get a couple power plays in the second and third period, they're going to have to cash in. So we'll see what happens.
I'm with you. So Jules, on Minnesota, Colorado, moving on to that series now, and I know you've had your finger on the pulse of this one. You've been right about everything that's happened so far in this series, 100%. If you don't believe me, check the old podcast, and you'll see that Julie predicted everything exactly as would happen. So what's going to happen tonight?
I think Colorado wins.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think home ice advantage is going to hold true like it has throughout this entire series. And I think the Avalanche are just going to put their foot down and, realize that they worked all season long to have this advantage of Game 7, which I actually think Patrick Roy said in his press conference yesterday. But it's one of those things. I mean, they worked their butts off, especially down the stretch run of the season, to be number one in their division and conference. Aren't they number one in the conference too?
No.
No.
And
Well, they're close enough. So, but they worked really hard to have this number one spot, and I think that overall pride is going to come into it, and they're just going to put their foot down and impose their will. So, but I will say, we had some discussion on Twitter about their defense and how they really don't play a defensive game. They play a shove the offense down your throat kind of game. And there are times when it doesn't always work out for them. They don't always score more goals. And that is going to be something they're going to have to be very aware of tonight. Like if they're going to have one really, really good team defense game, it's got to be this game.
It does, and and Minnesota has really shown that team defense. To me, I can't get past the Wild being kind of like. There's two reasons I think that the Wild would lose this game, and there's two reasons why I think they would win. But I'll go into one of each. But I think the Wild basically won 6 games in this series already, or 5 games already, and they lost 2 games that they shouldn't have lost. And when you lose games you shouldn't lose, you don't often win series. It's just if you lose 1 game, you don't win a series. They've lost 2, and they still could win the series. But I also think Colorado has to figure out how to. They're sort of what we talked about same thing about Columbus, a team that's in the playoffs that has to learn how to lose maybe before they learn how to win. And that's what Colorado looks like to me. They obviously have the talent, but they're so young. And I also can't get past the fact, Josh, that the Wild are are kind of like the New Jersey Devils of the Western Conference. And when you get a top team like this, high-flying team, they can shut them down, and they've shown they can do that.
Well, I agree, but Eck, I got to say, I think the Avs are going to win tonight.
Okay.
I think Patrick Waugh is going to give an inspirational speech. He's been there before. He's won a few cups, as we know. I honestly believe that Colorado is going to come out swinging tonight. And I'm not talking about fighting, but I'm talking about they're going to score some goals. And I think Nathan MacKinnon's been, again, a pretty good player in this series, and I would not be surprised if he has a big game again tonight.
So they're going to come out swinging, Josh. Is that what you're saying?
Not physically. You know what I mean.
I got you.
But yeah, but Minnesota's a good team. I mean, obviously Ryan Suter, on the back end, has made that defense one of the best, I think, this year. But I honestly believe the Avs are going to win tonight.
So, Bill, your thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm going to be the dissenting voice here. I actually have Minnesota winning tonight.
I do too.
And for that very reason that you said, they're kind of a Western Conference version of the Jersey Devils.
Yeah.
They can frustrate a team like the Avs that are a skating and attacking kind of team. I think for a lot of the series, I agree with you, Eck. They've lost a couple games they could have and probably should have won.
Yeah.
And it's also a whole different thing putting a team away. It's almost the mentality. I'd liken it to a closer in baseball. Some can do it and some can't, and it takes a degree of experience to do it. There's a whole mentality in closing out a series because the 4th win is often the hardest one to get. And in a 7th game scenario, really all bets are off. Anything can happen. And I don't necessarily think that home ice matters once the game gets going. The 7th game. I think going in, there's a lot of talk about it, but I think that particularly if the Wild score first in this game, and you can take that across all 3 Game 7s tonight. Scoring first is obviously huge in any game, but especially in a Game 7. But I think some of the emotion and energy could end up working against Colorado, in this Game 7. So I actually have Minnesota kind of shutting them down and going on to win the game.
All right, Mike. So you're going to decide this because Bill and I have Minnesota. Julie and Josh have Colorado. Mm-hmm. So you're the deciding vote.
Well, I have to stay consistent with my picks at the beginning of the first round, and I picked Colorado. I actually picked Colorado in 5, so my prediction's a little bit wrong right now. But, I think Minnesota has really improved as the series has gone along. Once they went to Kemper, he's played very well. He's got a .934 save percentage, which is pretty good for a goaltender who had limited playoff experience. And Parise is, I think, playing probably his best playoff round since the Devils went to the Cup a few years back. I just think that the home ice advantage will be a factor. Varlamov, I think, is the better of the 2 goaltenders, and Nathan MacKinnon has been phenomenal. And they do have Duchesne back, and he's not going to be injured. He is going to play tonight, so I think all those factors lead to a Colorado victory. Maybe it'll be overtime, but I think Colorado will win.
Julie, does anyone in the world think that either of these teams has a shot in hell against Chicago? Sorry, just to throw that out there.
Actually, I think that people think that Colorado has a shot against Chicago only because of their offensive mentality. People always say, well, you can't skate with Chicago, and I think that Colorado can. It's going to be an incredibly fast-paced, intense track meet of a game, but I think that, when you look at how to beat teams that shove offense down your throat, is you do the same exact thing to them, which is going to create a lot of neutral zone turnovers and a lot of odd man chances. So, I mean, if you're looking for entertaining second round series, I think Colorado-Chicago is going to offer you the best bang for your buck in that department.
Yeah, unless you're an old Norris Division fan like me, who wants to see Minnesota and Chicago go at it.
And don't you find it interesting though, Eck? I mean, if Colorado does advance to the next round, it's going to be another team that Joe Quenneville used to coach that he's going to go against.
That is fascinating. You're right. No, that is really interesting. It just gives him. This is my thing with Chicago. We were talking about Chicago last night before the game with some people, and this, I think, is actually the best Blackhawks team that we've seen. And they've won 2 Stanley Cups, but I think this is the best. I think for what they're going to do, for what they're doing right now, this is the first time that Crawford actually has been great. In my opinion, the other times Crawford was a good goalie that everybody wanted to say is some kind of great goalie. But I think this Crawford, this guy's really good. Mike, you're shaking your head in disgust.
No, I disagree. I think the 2010 team with Bufflin and with with Andrew Ladd and all those players is a much better team than the team is right now. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think that this Blackhawks team is very capable of getting to the Stanley Cup Finals and maybe repeating. I just don't think that the team that they had, they had Boland. They had all these secondary scorers, and they had Kane and Taves. Now, I like guys like Brandon Saad who have come along, young kids like Andrew Shaw, but I just think that team in 2010 was a much better team.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree, Mike. I think that I think this blue line is deeper than they were in 2010. I thought in 2010 a big part of the reason why that series went 6 games was that Seabrook and Keith were gassed by the finals.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, the Flyers basically attacked them at will, and they were on for a lot of goals against in that series. I see Chicago able to roll their D pairs better, and I think they're they might not have as much frontline firepower beyond Kane, Taser, and of course Patrick Sharp as well. Hosa's older, but I mean I think that I think they still have plenty of depth, and I like their blue line better now than that.
Mm. Josh, are they a dynasty?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. I mean, if they win this year, I mean, you got to call them a dynasty, right? And this is the first time we've been talking about a team as a dynasty team since what? Since the Red Wings?
The Oilers, probably.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the Islanders won 4, the Oilers won 4, and then after that, no one's won.
Oh, yeah, the Red Wings were close.
Oh, the Red Wings, I guess, yeah, it's true. Yeah, so, I mean, the other game, now this is where, Mike, I'm going to go to you because you have been there for the Sharks the whole time. You're like, there's no problem, no question, no worries. They got this thing. Mike, tell me you're still there because I'm a Sharks fan and I want them to win tonight. So what are your thoughts?
Well, from all the reports coming out of San Jose, they're going to go back to Niemi for Game 7. First of all, we never really touched on it. I thought that the call on the game-winning goal for Justin Williams in the third period was ridiculous. I thought the play should have been whistled down. The puck was not visible, and the referees let the play go, and Williams went in, stabbed the puck, and knocked it in the net. And I think the game was over with at that point because the LA just poured forth and scored a couple more goals, and the game was over with.
Because Bill disagrees with you vehemently. We'll come right back to you, Mike. Bill.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that everybody kind of hoots and hollers about quick whistles. I thought that on this particular play, Chris Lee went behind the net and he got himself a better look at the play. It was, and I agree with what Paul Stewart had to say in his blog. And right behind the net, he could see the puck. Was uncovered behind his skate, and Williams has a right to poke at the puck until he hears a whistle. He didn't physically shove the goaltender in the net. He went for the puck with his stick, and Stalock knocked the puck into the net with his, himself. I mean, it would have been one thing if he would have physically pushed forward. He was legitimately going for the puck with his stick, and I think you have to call that a good goal. As a matter of fact, if you reverse the call, I think you're getting the same criticism the other way around with Los Angeles saying they were screwed. Say the two options on that play. Option number 1 is you allow the goal. Option number 2, this is a situation, a loose puck scenario, where you can't just disallow the goal without calling a goaltender interference penalty. Was that goaltender interference? Absolutely not. If Williams gets penalized on that and the Sharks go ahead and score, then it's a whole different conversation. Everybody talking about LA coming out in the short end on that call. So I actually think that the right call was made there. I don't agree.
Well, I just think that Alex Stalock was like he was being used as something in a game of shuffleboard. I thought he was pushed into the net and then the puck was knocked into the net with him. That being said, it's crying over spilled milk. I mean, Game 7 tonight, I mean, all the momentum is clearly in the Kings' favor. Obviously down 3-0, now winning the next 3, but I predicted San Jose in 7. I didn't expect it to go 3-0 and then 0-3, but I mean, this again, like somebody said earlier, this is why you play for home ice advantage. Maybe it's inconsequential, but I do think that San Jose, going back to Niemi, who has won a Stanley Cup, has experience, they may get Vlasic back in the lineup, and he's a key for them. If that happens, I still think the Sharks will win, but I think I'm going against the tide here because I think a lot of people think the Kings will sweep 4 straight.
Yeah, this is one instance where I don't know that the Sharks want to be home for this game, to be honest. This is like one of those games that, I mean, Julie, what are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are very conflicted because a lot of people think that I want the Kings to win simply because Jonathan Quick is a former Minuteman. But I'd also like to remind you that Justin Braun and Matt Irwin are also former Minutemen. So this is like, exactly, it's like this. What do I do? Either way, there's going to be at least one Minuteman out of the playoffs.
Besides these revolutionary heroes, what do you think?
So I'm just like, oh. But I think that the LA Kings have found their swagger. And, I know you've been talking about how you need to learn how to lose before you can learn how to win. And the San Jose Sharks have learned how to lose every single year. And
they've got PhDs in that. They're okay
it has not really helped them figure out how to win when it matters. Yeah. And I just feel that the Kings have way too much experience that they can rely on throughout their lineup, and that they're going to, pull it out tonight and come away with the win. But I will say that I think it's going to be a closer game than the past 3 games have. I mean, if you think about it, the first 3 games of the series, the Kings really just didn't show up. And then the past 3 games, with their backs against the wall, they have given everything. And to think that they wouldn't do the same in this game is ridiculous. So I know that history says that it's very unlikely for this to happen, but I think we've seen in recent history that when you get a team that's hot like this with a goaltender that's gotten as on fire as Jonathan Quick has these past 3 games, that they're really tough to eliminate.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think this is a very different situation than Philly and Boston because watching that series, I mean, Philly and Boston, even though Boston won the first 3 and Philly won the next 3, it wasn't as dominating either way. Like it wasn't like
that's exactly right. The Kings have absolutely crushed the Sharks the past 3 games.
Right.
Crushed them.
Right, Josh?
Well, the Sharks have been in the situation before, guys. If you remember 2011 against the Detroit Red Wings, they almost blew a 3-game series lead, and Detroit came storming and almost won that series. But the Sharks showed up for Game 7, and they actually won that game 3-2. I think the game off for Niemi is going to help him get his head back in the game, and I think the Sharks are going to win tonight.
Kind of with you, Josh. I don't know why. I mean, and I don't want to be with you because I like the Sharks. No, it's nothing personal. Nothing personal. I would like to be with you go out with that dress in the background. What's that about, Josh? You going out later tonight? You got your dress hanging up in the background. You can see that?
It's not a dress. It's a shirt.
Looks like a dress.
Bobby Orr jersey.
Bobby Orr jersey.
That one.
You call it Bobby Orr jersey a dress?
In the hallway, we can see through your door.
Oh no, that's my laundry hanging, and that's.
I'm sorry.
Under Armour shirt.
It looks like a fine black cocktail dress from where
they don't make Under Armour dresses. That's all I wear. That's all I wear, by the way. If you want to sponsor me, but go ahead.
Under Armour dresses?
No, Under Armour.
Oh, gotcha. Continue. Yeah, I mean, Bill, you agree. I mean, this is a different series than Boston Philly.
Oh yeah, this definitely has a whole different feel than that series. You know, if you go back to the 2010 series with Boston and Philly, Boston won Game 1 in overtime. You know, almost swept the series with the Flyers winning Game 4 in overtime. Simone Gagne scored. Then Philly shut out Boston in Boston in Game 5. You know, Game 6 they took care of their home. And then of course in Game 7, after Philly took care of their home ice in Game 6. You know, the Flyers fell behind 3-0 in the first period in that game.
Yeah.
And, you know, and a lot of people were already checking out. Van Riemsdyk scored in the final minute of that period, and, you know, Flyers scored early in the second, and then all of a sudden, you know, there was just no stopping the momentum from there. I go back and forth on how much game-to-game carryover there is in the playoffs. Yeah. You know, I do think there is something, though, that when you lose a 3-0 lead and you're facing a Game 7, you know, that you're very tight early on to start the game. I think that if San Jose can manage the early part of the game, you know, I actually like their chances tonight. You know, if you pin me down to pick one team or another, it's hard to pick against the Kings, but for just gut feeling as much as anything else, I guess, you know, I'm going with San Jose tonight.
Yeah, I'm there too, because I think that these last 3 games have almost been too easy for the Kings, and I think the Kings. It's hard for the Kings to go into tonight without thinking that they're going to win this thing as well, and they can't play that way, obviously. I mean, they're an experienced team, so there's a lot of things there. But to me, this is close. This is really close. I mean, finally, I think we should talk about the possibilities here of the next round, and what could be, in my opinion, if all breaks a certain way, the best second round of the playoffs we've ever seen. Like we have the ability to see. We have Boston, Montreal already. That's set, right? And that goes without saying. Is an incredible rivalry. We have the chance of Philly-Pittsburgh, which is an unbelievable rivalry, and what the NHL obviously wants to see that series. That would be phenomenal. You have the chance of LA and Anaheim, which is also incredible. You know, and then Colorado, Minnesota, Chicago. That's a great series, but the other 3 are epic series. You know. And usually the second round doesn't hold as interesting of matches as the first round. Julie, you have something to say, or are you just yawning? Go ahead.
No, I would just like to say that should all 4 of those scenarios happen, this one will have a perfect bracket.
Ooh, really? Is that who you picked? All those games?
Well, remember, I went against the grain because I was pissed off at all of you for picking Boston to win the whole damn thing. That I went completely off board, and I went with Colorado and Montreal in the final. Simply because I thought it would be an interesting storyline. Like, it would just be cool to cover that series.
That'd be a fun series cover.
So then I had to work backwards. And then I said, well, if I pick the Cup final because of who I thought would be an interesting series, I have to pick everything else based on who would be an interesting series. And I picked Boston-Montreal because who doesn't want to see that? I picked Philly and Pittsburgh because who doesn't want to see that?
Right.
I picked LA and Anaheim because the freeway face-off series would be outstanding. Plus, can you imagine the people covering that? Like, that is like the best travel ever. Ever!
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, actually, maybe not. Because maybe New York and New Jersey might be better, but pretty dang close. And then you have Colorado against Chicago, which would be amazing. So those are my 4 second-round brackets. So if you're wondering who I'm rooting for tonight, there's your answers.
Pulling for that. I like it. I mean, and it could happen. It could very easily could happen. And I think that's... Go ahead, Josh.
Well, I just think it could be interesting, too, if the Rangers win tonight. You have 4 original 6 teams in the final 8.
True.
You know, and it seems like those original 6s have been better franchises lately, except the Leafs.
Who without beers? Who has not been as good? Original 6 team? I can't remember the other original 6 team. Is it the California Golden Seals or something? What was it? All right. It would be up on Bill's wall, on Mike's wall back there. Yeah, we don't want to leave that. The
wall
off.
of shame. Yeah. You got to talk, Mike. That way it comes out like.
Let me just say that if the 3 home teams win tonight, I would be a perfect 8-0. But
Wow. All right.
Well done, Mike. Well done. Thanks for copying my bracket.
No, he's looking at it. He's different. That's different because he's talking about home teams winning tonight. So
yeah, I have the Rangers winning in 7 and San Jose winning in 7. So.
Oh, all right.
My
Yeah.
bracket's already screwed.
Then
I
don't
think the
talk
Jackets
about
can win the whole thing.
Yeah, well, it is all about gambling after all. So we end today on that note, and on this note for gambling, 777, because that's what we got tonight. Enjoy the games, guys. Wonderful having this is the biggest podcast panel we've ever had, and you guys pulled it off really well. Sorry for my passing was a little bit erratic, but I was trying. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow, and then we'll be able to talk about a whole nother round. And this is hopefully a really fun time tonight. Well, let's hope for some games. And this is my other prediction, by the way. I'm going to throw this out there right away. The Rangers and Flyers are going to overtime. There's no question.
Well, they're the only series that has yet to go to overtime.
Yeah.
That's correct. So this is absolutely no that you can just if you want to go out early, go to dinner, hang out, just be back by about 9:30 because that's when the overtime will start. You'll be set. You'll be fine. All right, guys. Remember, without the buzz,
It's just hockey.
talk to you soon.